Okay, here we are. It's recording now. I'm Jill Hewlett and excited to have you join us to learn about your happy brain chemicals. This is a dry run through, so we're not going to be using this pen, but I wanted to tape this information because I find this so fascinating, this information. And I want to quickly recap what I learned from reading this book and then talking with you. And then I'd like you please to interject any additional pieces, any clarification, and that way I can study it after. Okay?
Okay. Are you talking to me or the listeners?
Well, this is for you. I'm talking to you.
Sounds great.
Okay, so basically we have these four main chemicals that we're dealing with, which are dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, and what's the other one?
Oxytocin.
Cortisol.
Not oxytocin?
Yes, oxytocin. Yes, yeah. So dopamine is when we're anticipating a possible reward. So if you go gambling, for example, I'm just gonna give some examples, then all of a sudden there's a possibility that you might win something. Dopamine in the chase, when you're courting in a relationship, there's the chance that this might turn into something, you might connect. Another example would be novelty, being in novel experiences, because they say that novelty amps up the brain, because in novel experiences, you don't know actually if there's going to be benefit for you. But the dopamine ignites with moving us into that participation, into the possibility, and we get excited by that possibility that something could happen. If something good does happen, say we're out gambling and we win the jackpot or something, the endorphins come out. So that's what happens then. The endorphins come out. The serotonin is when we're feeling really capable, really good at doing something. They say that animals have alpha animals have more serotonin than other ones. So it is kind of connected to the top dog idea, but it doesn't just have to be that. It can be that you're performing well or excelling in your field of study or career, or it could even be feeling that sense of comfort and satisfaction in a healthy relationship or stability in your life, or you created a sense of stability, that type of thing. And then oxytocin is about connection with others, bonding, trust, feeling companionship, and that positive energy that we get from socializing with other humans. And that comes forward a lot, obviously, in pregnancy and postpartum when mothers are then nursing, because there's the flush of oxytocin and the bonding with the child and the mother. So those are things I know about these. I want to hand it over to you to add to this or clarify.
Oh, there's so much you said and so much that can be clarified. But did you ever hear Helen Fisher?
No.
The relationship, a love doctor, so to speak. She studies relationships and love. And she's come up with serotonin personalities, dopamine personalities, estrogen personalities, and norepinephrine, I think maybe adrenaline personalities. And so she's linked personality types to these different neurotransmitters. I just thought that was interesting. You might want to look into Helen Fisher.
And what's her name? Heather?
Fisher.
Okay.
Yeah. Serotonin, estrogen, dopamine. And I'm thinking that the fourth one was epinephrine or adrenaline, but I'm not sure what the fourth one was.
Okay.
I'll have to look that up. Anyway, a couple things you said. First of all, when you make a one-to-one relationship with hormones, especially brain hormones, it's a bit misleading if you don't take into account that, at least know that these things interact in a lot of weird ways. And it's not like this causes this and that causes that. Okay. So it's okay to do that as long as you recognize there's overlap and it's like a web. That's first of all. Second of all, your description was pretty good. Serotonin, I would say, in addition to, do you know where most serotonin is in your body, by the way?
Your gut?
Exactly. It's a digestive hormone. It is designed to keep you safe. In the gut, when you eat a poison, serotonin kicks in. It protects you. It's designed. Serotonin is an evolutionarily conserved hormone. You know what it means to be evolutionary conserved? It's in yeast. It's in all evolutionary strata. You find it in fungus. You find it in yeast. You find it in plants. You find it everywhere. It's everywhere in evolution. It's evolutionarily conserved.
Okay.
first of all. So it's a very important fundamental neurotransmitter for life. Why? Because serotonin helps you handle life. Life's tough, okay? I mean, we think it's tough just because we have credit card bills and relationships and bosses and kids and all the stuff we have. But from a survival standpoint, it's a battle out there, and you got to be vigilant. You got to be clearing poisons when there are poisons present. You got to somehow be clotting the blood when you get cut. And so most serotonin is involved in protecting the body from the ups and downs, the vicissitudes of life. The reason you feel good when your serotonin is high is because you can handle life. You feel confident handling life. You understand what I'm saying? So it's been associated with happiness, contentment, antidepressant, but really it's a vigilance daytime hormone. And this, you can understand this by a couple of things. First of all, if you take a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, you can suffer from something called serotonin syndrome. You get hypervigilant. You get paranoid. This is why they shoot up the post office when they're on SSRIs. They get paranoid because they get hypervigilant. Serotonin is a vigilant hormone. It's a daytime hormone. It allows you to handle the day when there's things happening, but too much of it makes you hypervigilant and paranoid.
Okay.
And that's why these SSRIs are so problematic. And usually when there's a mass shooting, there's an SSRI involved. At least a lot of the times there's an SSRI involved. So serotonin is a little tricky, but I like to think of it as a hormone that helps you handle life. It's tied into stresses. For example, the sun will stimulate serotonin. The sun will upregulate serotonin. If you want to upregulate your serotonin levels, look in the sun, sun gaze, or first thing in the morning. In fact, the ancient Egyptian, melatonin is converted to serotonin, by the way. Melatonin is a very important relationship between melatonin and serotonin. Melatonin is your nighttime hormone. And in the morning, check this out, in response to daylight, melatonin is converted to serotonin. And it turns out, so if you look in the sun first thing in the morning, you'll get a big hit of serotonin. The ancient Egyptians used to bury people, and throughout history, not throughout history, but throughout mystical literature, they buried people for 3 days and they came out in the light. And what would happen was the melatonin would build up for 3 days while they were not in the light. They'd go out, the light would hit them when they came out of the crypt or the tomb or the underground cave or wherever they were. Boom, they get a big hit of serotonin. Big hits of serotonin are linked to psychedelic experiences, hallucinogenic experiences. A lot of hallucinogenic drugs work with the serotonin system. So serotonin, not in a right amount, helps you handle life, but when it's secreted in certain areas of your brain and in higher amounts, you have transcendental experiences.
Wow.
You have psychedelic psychic experiences, mushrooms, LSD, all these drugs work with the serotonin system. Go ahead.
Okay, so I really like this. This is really cool. And all of it's so fascinating. Just because of time, though, what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to cover all of them.
Well, let's talk about the other ones.
But hold on. Can you also tie in with each one the nutrients or the
okay. So serotonin, if you want to bump up your serotonin, you need to have, number one, tryptophan containing, well, I don't want to say you need to have, but the building blocks of serotonin are tryptophan, which is an amino acid that's found like in dairy, meat. You've heard of tryptophan as a sleepy time, right?
Yeah, people at Thanksgiving having the turkey.
Yeah, because tryptophan is associated with kind of relaxation. You're okay. All's well in the world.
Contentment.
Also, 5-HTP sometimes people will use. 5-HTP, which is a derivative of tryptophan. So make sure you have tryptophan-containing foods. And tryptophan is ridiculously fascinating for an amino acid, but that's a digression. I won't go into that, but man, that's an amazing one. We'll talk about that later. So tryptophan, and then also sugar, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates trigger serotonin, especially when insulin. The combination of insulin and carbohydrates upregulate serotonin. You think about it.
So comfort foods.
Insulin and sugar are kind of like you have enough resources. So it's linked into serotonin. When you have enough sugar, you're capable. From an evolutionary standpoint, we didn't have a lot of sugar. Today we have a completely different situation, and it could very well be that people's sugar addiction is really serotonin building self-medication. People are using, that's where potatoes, not Prozac, comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Thank you.
The concept that people are eating, potatoes, not Prozac says you can eat potatoes instead of Prozac. The concept being, the idea being you're upregulating your serotonin. But today we got sugar everywhere, and I would not, I don't know, this is not proven, this is just my theory, that people self-medicate as a way of giving themselves self-medicate with sugar carbs as a way to upregulate their neurochemistry, specifically their serotonin. Plus, dopamine is also involved, and that's a good way. Let's talk about dopamine for a little bit, because dopamine also has a mistaken identity as a pleasure substance, but it's not really, like you said, it's an anticipatory substance.
Mm-hmm.
It goes up in order to get you to go across the hill. Novelty is an evolutionarily adaptive strategy. If we didn't have novelty, if we didn't go over to the next hill, we wouldn't expand, we wouldn't grow.
Right.
Ultimately, we wouldn't thrive. So dopamine is very important for getting you to go over to the next hill. In fact, even something as subtle as opening a doorknob, as reaching for the doorknob, will upregulate your dopamine. Just any kind of behaviors. And it's kind of interesting because it represents a real cool mechanism for hacking into your neurochemistry. Do something.
Do something. Change things up a bit.
Yes, do something. You will hack into your dopamine chemistry. You want to hear something else about dopamine? There's a relationship between dopamine and pigment. It turns out that the pigment in your skin is called melanin, right? Well, most or a lot of the melanin in your body is not in your skin. It's inside your body. Do you know this?
No.
And in the brain, the cells that make dopamine are packed with melanin. Melanin is highly electromagnetic. It's an information storage system. You know, they're using melanin for computer chips now. It's not industrially, but they're studying it for the use as in computer chips. Because melanin conducts electricity. There's something in your brain called neuromelanin. And when your neuromelanin cells, they're located in a part of your brain that's associated with movement, when your neuromelanin cells start to die off, you get a disease that causes you to have problems completing movements. You know, when you move, you're a body person, you know this. There's zillions of little things that have to happen, right, for me to just pick up my phone, right? Zillions with a Z. And all kinds of stuff has to happen. And it starts off with the melanin cells in your brain. Cells called neuromelanin. In fact, the area where they make neuromelanin technically is called the substantia nigra. Substantia,
I know that.
You've heard that, right? The substantia. What does nigra mean? Come on, you know. Think about it.
Why do I not?
Right.
Why is that coming to me?
Of course it does. It's a common word, you know. Negro. Nigra means black.
Yeah.
Nigra means black. What's the black? Melanin. In your brain, you have.
I was thinking of Nigeria.
That's the same root. Same root, right? Nigra means black in Latin. So substantia nigra is the melanin-producing area in your brain where dopamine is made. When this deteriorates, you suffer from a disease called Parkinson's.
Okay, movement deficiency.
Yes, Parkinson's.
But where does it connect to pigment? Because I get dark easily, so it's not okay.
Well, that's neuromelanin. I'm talking about neuromelanin.
Okay.
I'm talking about skin melanin. Now, there's a structural relationship between melanin and dopamine. So, you know, there could be some issue. You may be more. I don't know if this is the case, but I'm just exploring that. Where you have more melanin, you probably have more dopamine. But in the brain, that's the case. We have more neuromelanin. I don't know if that's the case in the skin. So dopamine is associated with getting you over the hump, getting you over the hill. That's also high protein foods. And by the way, you might be interested in a book by a guy named, or work by a guy named Dr. Eric Braverman. Mm-hmm. You heard of this guy?
No.
You want to look into him because he writes about neurotransmitters and amino acids for the general public.
Okay.
He makes it very easy to understand a lot
What's
of these.
his book called?
He has several books. I don't remember all the names, but he has like 4 or 5 books. Like Younger You, I think one is called. I just Google Dr. Eric Braverman.
Okay.
He's got about 7 or 8 books. And they're all written for the general public, but they're about these subjects. So anyway, so dopamine, high protein foods. That's how you want to look at dopamine. Making sure you get high protein, which makes sense because protein gives you the energy to move. It gives you the raw materials for building muscle. Protein is also associated with movement. So dopamine is high protein foods. Or go over the next hill. Hack into your dopamine by doing behaviors. Now, when you complete a behavior, you hit endorphins. You get pleasure. That's how the system is wired. However, today we figured out how to hack into the endorphin system without getting the dopamine first. That's why people do opiates. That's why people get addicted to pain pills, which tells you from a neurochemical standpoint, if you're addicted to pain pills, go out and do something. Get your own natural endorphins. And I don't know this for a fact, but it makes sense that people who get addicted to opiates were sedentary for a long period of time. They were in pain for a long period of time. They felt stuck somehow. They couldn't move. They couldn't do stuff, and they got addicted to opiates. Sugar will upregulate opiates and also chemicals in foods. So drug companies and food companies who work together, by the way, will come up with chemicals that will hack it. Right? They work together.
Drug Association.
And they work together. That's not me just exaggerating. There's like institutes that are funded by both, and they're owned by each other, and I mean, they're one industry. They're learning how to hack into our bodies. Both industries hack into your body, food and drug. Our food has become drugs. Our food has become medicalized in the sense that there's chemicals in the food that hit the endorphin button. So people get addicted to certain foods.
So which foods would be creating that endorphin rush?
Oh, well, sugar, and then sugar is the biggest culprit, and then also processed foods, excitotoxins.
Like fried foods?
No, not so much fried foods, but the stuff they put in the fried foods, the spices they put in fried foods. People don't like foods that don't have flavor associated with them, and flavor comes from chemicals. The problem with flavor is flavor chemicals work on your brain more than they work on your tongue. Your tongue is where you're supposed to have flavor, but these things work directly on your brain. So you can't really taste them with your tongue, but they make you feel happy. Because that's what excitotoxins do. They make your brain go, yippee, even though you couldn't taste it. It's a way of hacking right into the neurology with a chemical, so you didn't get the delicious taste of anything, but your brain said it could be a turd. You could have just eaten a piece of crap and it will go, yippee!
So it's really a lazy approach to getting endorphins, really.
It's a very lazy, but nobody thinks about it that way, so they're not thinking about it along those lines. No. Then you have...
They're not doing the work. They're not doing the steps involved. Okay.
Endorphins are found, endorphins, if you want to get endorphins from foods, you want to get them from plants and vegetables and grains. Grains are a source of endorphins. In fact, grains contain, and also dairy, contains exorphins.
Outside of your body.
Orph comes from Morpheus, the god of dreams. Have you heard this? You know this? The poppy.
Makes sense.
Yeah. The poppy, when you think about it, throughout human history, pain has been a serious issue. Can you imagine what pain must have been like? Okay, a mere 150 years ago, where everything rotted. We lived in a painful, we have it now, but can you imagine how painful it was to be a human being?
You know what? By the way, just throwing in, I was reading, I know what you're saying, and I get that, and I was also reading that too recently, and they were like, we don't have the same physical pain because we're not like out there being chased down by saber-toothed tigers, and we're not as exposed to the elements, but we created, because we have the physical pain somewhat kind of under wraps to a degree, that created social pains now.
Yes.
So it's all like on the midbrain level where it's connected to like limbic, right?
Yes.
Where it's like all stuff around like the social media, right, can cause us pain, or family issues or whatever.
And when people want to raise their endorphins to self-medicate, they want to get out of psychic pain as much as they want to get out of physical pain. But the point in the brain is the same. To the body, it's the same. The experience is the same. So what we're doing is we're using something that's designed to handle physical pain for mental pain. Psychic pain doesn't work, so we keep taking it. That's not enough, that's not enough, that's not enough, until we get zonked out on it. Because the problem is a psychic issue, not a physical issue. But the point I was going to make was, when we had physical pain before 1800, the poppy was a miracle from God. It was the most amazing. The poppy plant secretes this resin that kills pain.
And the poppies are what they use for the soldiers for Remembrance Day.
Do they?
The red poppy flower.
In Canada?
Yeah, big time. Everyone wears poppies.
I never heard of
fields where the poppies grow, row on row. You don't know that poem?
No. How do I know? That's
Canadian history.
Thank you for teaching me. I didn't know. But poppy, throughout history, I mean, just mentally put yourself in the place of like somebody living in the 16th century or 9th century.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a holy sacred substance. So they had high respect for the poppy. And when the drug industry started, the first drug that they started working on was the poppy.
That's incredible. Okay, that's incredible. Okay, Ben.
I was going to tell you, Morph comes from the god of dreams. Morpheus is the god of dreams. So exorphins and endorphins. So the best way to get your endorphins up is to push yourself. Well, no, push yourself. You can't really get endorphins.
Okay, how about this? Set up attainable goals. Because
No, it's the
that's
pushing,
what
it's the
I think.
pain.
Wait a second. Wait. Be with me for a sec. Because I think when people have huge goals and they're not seeing progress, they might have dopamine as far as the excitement, but then they're never really feeling a sense of it happening. But if you have goals that benchmark a bit sooner, like, okay, like I have this big goal of, say, cleaning up the whole house, but today I've got a goal of cleaning up this one room. And so they clean up the one room, now they get the endorphin because they completed it.
Well, that's cute and that's sweet and that's very maternal, and I appreciate that. However, from a biochemistry standpoint, you've got to be pain. You got to be in pain. You got to be in pain to get the endorphins up. It's called the runner's high. The runner will run, and when they're in complete, absolute, abject pain, endorphins will kick in.
Okay, but what about this whole idea with the dopamine leads to endorphins then?
Right. So you have to somehow, the endorphin hit will be proportional to the amount of difficulty the action took.
Okay, well, sometimes cleaning up a room can be difficult.
Yes. Okay, fair enough. But I'm saying the idea of small.
It's an example after all.
Okay. Okay, that was a hell of an example now that I think, what was I thinking?
Right?
That's a damn good example, Goddess Jill. That is awesome.
Thank you.
The point I was trying to make is, yes, I like the one bite at a time because, you want to reinforce the action. You want to reinforce the neural pathways, the circuitry. So that there's something to be said for that. But at the same time, when you really feel pain, that's when the endorphins kick in. When you're really feeling pain.
So the amount of endorphins is proportional to the effort and the pain you had to put in.
Correct.
Just pain or effort too?
I don't know if that's kind of an overlap there.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Endorphins are pain relievers.
Now, I'm going to throw in cortisol, and I don't want to spend, we're almost up to time here, so I don't know what we're going to do.
That's how it goes. You're trying to get all freaking years of biochemistry in like 20 minutes. What do you expect?
I know, okay. And you're doing amazing, Cheryl. Thank you. So this is really important anyway. So let's go with this now, but not to spend a lot of time on cortisol, but what I understand is the amount of cortisol will depend if it's just a mild anxious anxiety or full out fear or major.
Cortisol is tricky.
That's based on the amount of cortisol. Is that right?
You think that it depends on where the cortisol is affecting what part of the brain. Cortisol gives you energy. Cortisol is not a bad hormone.
No, but when we're talking stress, I know that. I know it's good.
To the extent if you have a lot of cortisol, you're going to be like in tachycardia and a hypertensive crisis and all kinds of shit's going to happen. And a little bit of cortisol you might not be able to sleep at night, or you might not be able to.
You might be a little anxious or
that. Yes, there's a degree. There's a degree,
I just wanted to clarify. It's about the quantity. Because you said endorphins, the amount of endorphins comes with the amount of pain. So it made me think of this cortisol question.
Same idea. Cortisol is very interesting. It's a prescription drug, cortisol. They'll give you, if you have adrenal fatigue, and a lot of people are hypocortisol, they've burnt out their adrenal glands, they'll give you a cortisol, actually prescription for cortisol. It makes you feel unbelievable. Like on top of the world, cortisol. It's really amazing stuff. It's just when you have too much. To a certain
degree, initially, there's value. And then in excess for too long, it's problematic.
Yes. And we do a lot of drugs like speed, methamphetamine. That's cortisol.
Okay, but I've got a question.
But wait, hang on though. Let me just say this. We do a lot of drugs because they have cortisol effects. Caffeine, speed. In fact, our favorite drugs, in addition to opioids, are cortisol drugs. Drugs that imitate cortisol. Uppers. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Uppers. Speed-like drugs. Caffeine is a classic. Okay. It works a little differently though, but still.
So just to clarify then, say someone's going to go and run a race. Yes. And they're excited because they think they might win.
Yes.
So they're at the starting line, the gun goes off, they run, they've got this dopamine, this excitement, right?
Yes.
And then, this is great. So then what happens? But say they get to the finish line and other people beat them. And so now they're down. What I understood is then, rather than getting the endorphin, they get the cortisol because now they're stressed.
It could be.
They say they were going to win something really important.
It could be. I mean, that's not out of line. I don't know if that's the case. I can't say for sure, but that doesn't sound out of line from a biochemical standpoint. What are you doing?
Brindavan's saying she's going to be a bit later. So.
Yes, madam.
So that's great because now you can do the other video maybe. But okay, so Ben, can you
Yes.
let me know then? If what I understand is if you have this positive anticipation, but rather than it going positive, it goes negative, cortisol will come in and
I get that.
make you feel uncomfortable. But you were saying cortisol only when it's like really, really bad or for a long period of time. But in that situation, it's quick. You lost the race.
I didn't say really.
Okay, just to clarify, sorry.
I didn't say really, really bad. You're so cute though. I didn't say really, really bad. I said cortisol is your stress management system. So yes, your point is well taken if you perceive that as a stress. But that's true what you said. I don't know if that's true, but it makes sense. I can't say for sure, but it makes sense.
So it's really based on then this cortisol really connects to our belief system. Because say for some reason someone didn't want to win the race. Whatever. They didn't want to make it onto the final.
Cortisol wouldn't go
They'd
up.
be like, yes, inside. And there's no cortisol. But someone else is like, I wanted to make it onto the final.
That is true. I said it makes biochemical sense. Absolutely.
But we don't know if it's true or not.
I don't know if it's true, but it makes sense. I mean, in biochemistry, you take a general principle and then you apply it. That's called deductive reasoning. You've heard that term, I'm sure. You have to take a general principle and then you find all the places it fits in. You deduce from a major theory. So yes, it makes sense using deductive reasoning. I just can't say that for a fact because I don't know if that's a fact, but yes, it makes logical deductive sense.
Okay, amazing. Okay, thank you. I'm so happy we know Zoom works. Like we are getting somewhere here, but it is getting darker outside.
Record this?
We need to do oxytocin.
I know. Can it be recorded?
This is recording.
You're recording, and you can put this on YouTube probably.
No, this is for me. I'm trying to get this.
I know, but theoretically, this can go on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta show me how to do this.
Well, this is what what I'm gonna do. I'll show you. Sure, I'd love to. So.
That's awesome. If you can I've been looking for a way to get my talks and do interviews and stuff, and just do talks and get them on YouTube.
You can just do this. You don't even have to have someone. You can just talk yourself.
Split screen us. Will it split screen us on YouTube?
I'm not sure if it's going to split screen or if it's only going to highlight who's talking.
Okay, we'll have to see. Why don't you?
I'll be as soon as I download it. So after we're done, I'm going to save it, and I can put it up.
Play with it.
I can send it to you to just look at.
Yeah, because me and Amanda do split screens. I don't know how she does it.
Okay. So find out what she uses because we could maybe use that method too.
That's great. Okay, what else? Oxytocin. Oxytocin that's the coolest. You know, oxytocin is structurally it's pretty much the same as antidiuretic hormone.
Oh, what do you mean by diuretic dehydrates you?
Yeah, you urinate. Diuresis is go urinate, right? Antidiuretic hormones when you hold on to they use it for bedwetters. When you hold on to urine, and oxytocin also goes by the name antidiuretic hormone, vasopressin. Interestingly, but oxytocin is a bonding substance, really beautiful substance. It makes you feel bonding kinds of connections. And here's the cool thing about oxytocin: it could be increased by just two people looking in each other's eyes, just for connection, just once, not staring, but just like looking, shaking hands, any kind of connection behaviors, breastfeeding, sex, anything where you're together, where you're somehow connecting, whether it's child, man, woman,
holding hands,
any of that stuff, anything where you're connecting, your oxytocin is going to go up. We crave this oxytocin burst of oxytocin. We'll do anything to get it.
But does it need to be a physical connection? Like I know you said the eye thing, but that's still physical.
No, it could be oral.
What in the surroundings with other people?
You probably psychically get it up. I'm sure.
There's a certain amount. The amount depends on the light type of connection.
There's energy coming off your body all the time that's being perceived subconsciously, right? We were all emanating energy, waves of energy. So I'm sure there's a relationship between like waves of energy and neurochemistry. The brain is a receiving device, electronic receiving device. I'm sure it's perceiving energy. Your heart is perceiving energy. The heart makes oxytocin, by the way.
Oh, the heart has a huge electromagnetic field.
Huge electromagnetic field. That's right. So, the heart is an endocrine system. The heart is making hormones. Part of the endocrine system. It's an endocrine gland.
But these happy brain chemicals they're made in the brain, though.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're made in the heart. I'd have to look that up, but it makes sense to me that they'd all be made in the heart too.
Yeah.
But
And the gut?
What's that? And the
And
gut. Absolutely in the gut. Yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
talk about these chemicals in the brain, but the entire body is a brain. The skin's a brain, the connective tissue is a brain, the immune system is a brain, the gut is a brain.
This is all part of the nervous system.
Yeah, they're all innervated. They all have intelligence. You know, the nervous system is our information processing system, and all of these systems are rich in information processing cells, wires. A neuron is really incredible when you think about what a neuron is. And by the way, a neuron isn't all that much different from a liver cell. It's really kind of a mystery why the brain works the way it does, because a neuron isn't that much different from a regular cell. It conducts energy a little differently, different shape, but for the most part, it has the same structures as a regular cell. So there's no reason why the brain should be so freaking smart. So the idea that the brain is responsible for a lot of our thoughts and actions is based on association. A lot of it is based on association, where they associate, but they can't prove it's causal. They associate.
But you were saying the most advanced, we talked about this before, you said the most advanced cell on the planet is the neuron. Quoted by you, by the way.
Right, that's true. But structurally speaking, it's got mitochondria, nucleus, ribosomes, genetic material. It's basically a cell membrane.
Organelles.
What?
Organelles.
Organelles. It's got little tiny organelles in it, like other cells. It's shaped differently. It is more advanced, probably, because it's so electromagnetic. But it's basically the same. Hepatocyte.
Some of the axons are really long.
True. That's true. It's longer. It's bigger, but it's.
And I think it's because do all cells work with its electrical impulse and then chemical?
How do electrical impulses make color? How do they make music? How does electrical impulses get converted into our experience? There's something missing there. There's a missing link somewhere there.
Okay, so that's so true. Stay with this though for a second. How do we do oxytocin through food?
Oh, you're not gonna do it with food. High protein foods maybe would do it. These are do you want to tap?
What about fats? What about fats?
Fats are important for everything. It's not like foods are specific for hormones, with the exception of maybe tryptophan, and tyrosine. These are two amino acids that are found in high protein foods. These are amino acids that are building blocks for most of these neurotransmitters. Let me think here. I don't know. I got to think about oxytocin, but dopamine, dopamine and serotonin. What was the other one we said? Dopamine, serotonin, and endorphin.
Endorphins, oxytocin.
Endorphins, tryptophan. You want to make sure you get enough tryptophan and tyrosine. Those are your two big amino acid building blocks, and they're found in dairy and high protein foods: eggs, dairy, meat, that kind of thing. Those are the kind of foods they're going to build. Now, the B vitamins are important for the synthesis of all hormones. All hormones depend on the B vitamins, so make sure you get enough B vitamins, especially B6. There's a very important relationship between B6 and serotonin, but B6 is important for all hormone processing. In fact, women on birth control pills have to make sure they get enough B6, because the B6 is affected by the hormones, the fake hormones of birth control pills. So you got to make sure B6 is one of the important ones. All the B vitamins, magnesium, zinc, vitamin C, those are important helper nutrients. They're not building blocks, they're helpers for making it. And that's another strategy that you can use. But the best way is to hack into it through behavior, I think, because you can always do that.
But this is, okay, I love that. This is helpful for me because it really goes with my brain fitness.
Totally goes with your brain.
I'm all for that. It's about mindset and hacking into your behaviors. That is incredible. However, diet could still kibosh someone's efforts. No?
I have a 6:30 call.
Sorry.
Say that one more time.
But it could still kibosh someone's efforts. Eating bad, like you're doing all these good.
You got to be careful how you eat, because if you're malnourished, most people are functionally malnourished. So then you're going to be missing the B6 and the vitamin C and the magnesium and the tyrosine and the tryptophan. So yeah, you got to have the stuff in there, a certain baseline raw material and building blocks and facilitators that you need in your system. And if you're vitamin C deficient, and most people are, yeah, you could run into a problem. So yes, your point is very well taken. But I like it better when people hack into it. No, both are important, obviously.
Yeah.
I got to get this call. I'm 10 minutes late. I just realized.
Ben, thank you for this. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to send you a link so you can see what this is like, and we can look at it. And then the next one will videotape the things we want to videotape, okay?
Say that one more time. Next time.
Thank you for doing this. I'll send you a link, and next time we will actually do the video that we're going to post.
Let's do this whole talk next time, like, because this was a good little introduction. Now you know some stuff, and I know what you're going to ask.
Yeah, I don't. This is not something I want to bring to the public yet. I've got plans with it, but I want to do the fluoride and hangover and stuff.
I can't wait to see your beautiful face again, Goddess Jo.
Thank you so much.
Awesome
Thank
day.
you. Likewise. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.